You know that feeling when everything starts to shift? One week she's warm, affectionate, sending heart emojis and asking about your day, and the next, cold, dry replies, delayed responses. Conversations that used to flow now feel like you're dragging dead weight. Start wondering if you said something wrong, if she's losing interest, if she's talking to someone else. You overthink every word. You reread your messages to see if you came off too strong or too distant. And in that panic, you start doing what most guys do. You try to fix it. You double text. You call when you shouldn't. You ask her if everything's okay, hoping she'll say it's not you. But here's the part that no one tells you. That coldness, that distance. It's not her being strong. It's not her being over you. It's a defense mechanism. She's pulling back because she feels something she can't fully control. She's not as detached as she looks. In fact, that silence you're so afraid of giving her. That's the very thing she's afraid of receiving, especially from a man she once had emotional power over. A man who used to check in, chase, worry, show up the moment she went quiet. When that man suddenly stops doing all those things, not because he's angry, not because he's playing games, but because he's calm, detached, done chasing. That's when it truly gets to her. She doesn't fear arguments. She doesn't fear long paragraphs. What she fears is absence, a void, silence from someone who used to care loudly. Because when you stop talking, when you stop reacting, you remove something she never expected to lose, emotional control. And that's when the story change does not with noise, but with stillness. She's used to having the upper hand, and you probably didn't even notice it. Every time she pulled away, you leaned in. Every time she acted cold, you tried to warm things up. When she went quiet, you filled the silence with reassurance, questions, check-ins. That was the pattern. She controlled the emotional rhythm. You just danced to it. And the crazy part is, she knew exactly how you'd respond. She counted on it. It wasn't always conscious or calculated, but deep down, she understood the power of her distance. It made you chase. It made her feel desired, in control, important. And for a while, you played your role without realizing the game you were in. But then something shifted. You didn't react the way she expected. You didn't panic. You didn't double down on attention or affection. You didn't flood her phone with concern. You just stopped. Not out of anger, not as some petty tactic, but because something in you got tired of the imbalance, that silence, that unbothered stillness. That's what she never saw coming. Now she's the one staring at her screen, wondering what happened. Wondering why you're not checking in. Wondering if you've moved on or stopped caring. The power dynamic flips hard when a man stops being predictable. Your silence speaks in ways your words never could. It says, I'm not chasing anymore. I'm not playing this game. That's what unsettles her, not the lack of attention, but the realization that she no longer knows how to pull you back in. Suddenly, she's not the one being desired. She's the one being ignored. And that unfamiliar feeling, it rattles her ego more than you think. Your silence doesn't go unnoticed. Even if she's the one who pulled back first, even if she's the one who stopped texting or started acting distant, when you go quiet, it hits different. She might pretend she doesn't care, post her stories, hang out with friends, keep that smile on in her photos, but inside, something stings. Because women feel things deeply, often more deeply than they show. And when a man who used to be available, responsive, emotionally open, suddenly disappears into silence, it triggers something in her she wasn't ready to confront at first. She might tell herself she's just giving space. She might even convince herself you're just being immature or playing games. But as time goes on and that silence continues, it starts to sound louder. It starts to feel heavier. She thought you'd chase. She thought you'd double text. Try harder. Show her that you still care. That's what she was banking on, not out of cruelty, but out of ego. She needed that reassurance not because she didn't want you, but because she needed to know she still had you. But when you didn't show up like before, that silence began to feel like rejection, like emotional abandonment. And that's a type of pain few people talk about. It's a kind that doesn't come from what you said, but from what you didn't say, from your absence, from your emotional withdrawal. Suddenly, she's not in control. She's not being validated. She's not certain anymore. And that's when the fear creeps in. What if he's really done? That quiet question spirals into panic. Because now it's no longer about ego games, it's about realizing she might have actually lost you in that realization. It cuts deeper than any argument ever could. When you go silent, truly silent, you're not just stepping away from her. You're forcing her to sit alone with everything she's been trying to avoid. See, when you were always texting, calling, checking in, you were giving her comfort even when she was being distant. You were the emotional cushion. Even if she acted cold, your presence reassured her that you were still there, still trying, still invested. You became her safety net, her emotional constant. And the second you pull that away, even without saying a word, she feels the absence like a punch in the chest. She may act unbothered on the outside. She may distract herself with friends, with social media, with whatever she can to create noise around the silence. But the silence is still there, creeping in between moments, waiting for her when the night gets quiet, when the phone stays dark, when there are no more distractions left to lean on. That's when the regret starts to surface. That's when the questions start to loop in her mind. Did I mess this up? Is he really gone? Why hasn't he reached out? The truth is, she never expected to be left with her own emotions. She was used to projecting them onto you. You were the one who felt the anxiety. You were the one trying to fix things. But now that energy is gone, and it's her turn to carry the weight. She starts feeling what you felt: confusion, insecurity, loss, and she doesn't know how to handle it. Because she thought she had control. She thought she could pull back and still keep you. But silence doesn't play by her rules. It forces clarity. It makes her face the consequences of her own behavior. And that mirror, that quiet reflection, it's far more brutal than any confrontation could ever be. Silence is not weakness. It's not giving up. It's not passive aggression or emotional immaturity. Real silence, the kind that comes from a grounded, composed man, is power. It's strength without noise, presence without pressure. And in a world where most men panic the moment a woman pulls away, where they rush to explain themselves, beg for answers, or fight to prove their worth, a man who chooses silence stands. Out like a storm in still water, he becomes unpredictable. It's unreadable, unshakable. That's the essence of masculine energy. Stillness under pressure, calm in the chaos. While she's trying to provoke a reaction, while she's testing, pulling back, creating distance to see what you'll do, you remain composed. You don't chase, you don't justify, you don't flinch. You simply withdraw your energy and stand firm in your self-respect. And that's when she feels the shift. Because silence from a man who once gave his full attention is deafening. It carries weight. It speaks volumes. It says, I don't need to prove myself to be valued. Most women are used to being pursued. They're used to men reacting, explaining, chasing after the first sign of emotional withdrawal. That attention, that validation, it fuels their ego, not always maliciously, but because it confirms they're still wanted. So when a man breaks that pattern, when he pulls away without bitterness, without theatrics, just quiet strength, it shakes something inside her. It unsettles her in a way no argument ever could. Because now, for the first time, she feels uncertain. She wonders where she stands. And that lack of clarity eats at her. See, the truth is, silence isn't just the absence of words, it's the removal of your presence, your energy, your emotional investment. And that's the real loss. Because women don't fall for what you say. They fall for how you make them feel. And when you were present, when you were giving, when you were attentive, she felt that. But now that it's gone, now that the warmth is replaced with distance, she's left to face a truth she never considered. Maybe you're no longer hers. Maybe the attention she took for granted was a privilege, not a given. Maybe she played the game too long and lost. And here's what you have to understand. This kind of silence isn't a tactic. It's not manipulation. It's a transformation. It's you stepping into your masculine frame. It's you understanding that your value isn't proven through chasing or over-explaining. It's demonstrated through restraint, through control, through knowing when to walk away, not out of spite, but out of self-worth. So when she acts cold, don't panic, don't argue, don't react. Let her sit in that silence. Let her wonder. Let her feel the absence of your energy, because the man who can hold his silence is the man who holds the power. Not by playing games, but by finally realizing he doesn't need to.